Hello and welcome to this edition of Diaspora Central. I am Gil Ingles, and with me today in the studio, yes, ladies and gentlemen, Liberia, stand up. Because today, one of your best, one of your most respected, one of your frontliners in this pandemic, Miss Lisa, who is now going for the title of Miss Houston. The one epidemiologist that represents the diaspora is right here in the building. Lisa, welcome to Diaspora Central.
Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to be here. I've been looking forward to this, and I'm so excited to share with you guys my platform and what I have going on.
Indeed. Now, that's sort of a long shot, but not surprising, right? Epidemiologist by profession.
Yes.
Now going for Miss Houston.
Yes.
Okay. But I don't know if you know much about Diaspora Central. Let me give you a very brief rundown what Diaspora Central does. Here we basically showcase diaspora culture and talent. So what we do is we, in all honesty, establish not only the heritage, but also the value that you add to the diaspora community. Is that something that we can talk about?
Most definitely.
Yeah? All right. Let's go ahead and start having fun. So I, of course, described you as being Liberian, but I know that your heritage has got to be a little bit more than that. So let's go ahead and get started. All right. You were born in?
I was born in the Bronx, New York.
Okay.
Then we migrated to Philadelphia, where I was raised. And the parents are from Monrovia, Liberia, so I'm truly African American.
Okay. So both parents from Liberia?
Both parents from Liberia.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Now, but you do have some ties also to Ghana?
Yes.
Okay.
I have some ties to Ghana through marriage and aunties and things like that.
Got you.
Yes,
Got you.
Yes.
Now, Liberia, of course, is the one state, right? That's the Marcus Garvey state,
Yes.
right? For lack of better words, I guess. Being first generation American, okay, there are a lot of challenges that you faced. And being an epidemiologist also, I'm sure that you had plenty of challenges that you faced. So we're going to talk about all of those things and kind of try to shine light, not just from an historical perspective, but also from a perspective of actually turning this into an aid to someone else, probably younger or maybe older than you, that may be going through the same exact thing. So in other words, we're going to try to lay some sort of a path that others can, or blueprint that others could probably follow, and leave some of those tools there that they can probably reach for, right, in order to achieve some of the great things that you have achieved. So let's kind of start really at the top, okay? Miss Houston,
Yes.
contestant.
Yes, so excited.
Mm-hmm. Is it your first pageant?
It is at my first beauty pageant.
Okay.
Yes, It is my first beauty pageant. I've had experience doing some modeling, public speaking, but this is the first official beauty pageant I'm participating in.
Got you. Now, born in the Bronx.
Born in the Bronx.
Bronx, stand up. That's one of the things that a lot of people don't know. The Bronx and Brooklyn do have a lot of first generation. And many of them actually played a huge role in the culture that today we know as hip-hop culture, right? So not surprising at all. But who were your role models, or I guess for the people that you looked up to, that first of all, to make the decision to become an epidemiologist, how young were you and who influenced you towards that decision? Let's kind of start there.
I would have to say my father is one of my biggest role models.
Okay.
You know, he always used to tell us education is paramount. So he was very involved and hands-on with our education. He made sure that whatever we were studying, whether it was science, gym, or music, we put 110% into it. Yeah. So he was the kind of dad that in 10th grade, college tours, what do you want to do? You know, really just getting our minds going. And for him, his biggest thing, you know, coming from back home, the lack of education is something that was so close to him that he really emphasized that it was a non-negotiable that we pursue our education and we be impactful people. So it was really my dad and his guidance that put me in the direction of healthcare and going from nursing. Then I found public health, and I found my fit, and I've been doing it for like 5 years now, and I absolutely love it. It gives you that nice medium. And prior to the pandemic, a lot of people never really understood what public health is, because it's one of those things, it's like you don't see it until things go bad. But you know, all the healthcare professionals are doing such an amazing job, and it really, I love people, I love showing compassion, so it really is a great fit for me.
All right, so and I kind of want to stay on that path at least for a little bit more on this segment. So that path right there, at what point in your life did you decide that, you know what, the medical field or the public health, because in a way they sort of different also. So, but at what point did you decide that, okay, being somewhat in the medical field is what you wanted to do?
I will also have to attribute, you know, the guidance to my mother. She's been a nurse for 25 years.
Okay.
So I grew up around it. And on top of that, just the nature to care for others. It's just been always in me, from my grandmoms to my little cousins. Just, I was always the person that, you know, I'm making sure everybody celebrate their birthday, cooking, just always wanting to be there for people. But I think what really made me want to go into public health is the education aspect of it. And getting people before it gets bad. And in the essence, that's really a key part of public health, is the early prevention. Before we get to the high blood pressure, the high diabetes, let's talk nutrition, let's talk mindset, let's talk wellness. So it really kind of infused with my characteristics going that route.
Got you. Now you come from a big family?
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
How many siblings?
I have one brother, one sister, but I have countless uncles, countless aunties here, abroad, London, Africa, California. I mean, all over. So very big extended family.
Got you. Now, mom and dad's name, you mentioned them as parents, but you never mentioned their names. If you want to.
Oh, of course. My dad's name is Wilmot Kunney, and my mother's name is Agnes Tarpe Kunney. They've been married for 28 years.
Oh, wow.
I must attribute them for all of their lessons and being amazing parents and amazing role models to me and my siblings.
Got you. Are they proud of you?
They are proud of me. I would like to say they are proud of me. They tell me they're proud of me. They're very supportive. They're all coming down to support me for the pageant. So I'm extremely excited about that.
Okay, so meaning that they still in the East Coast? And,
yes.
Okay, they're still in the East Coast. All right. So Miss Houston, of course, becomes a goal at some point in your life. What triggers that?
See, that kind of ties in with what you were saying last time. I've always been adventurous. You know, I think I've always been a person who I thrive off of like life and adventure. So I'm really big on putting myself in situations that can expand me. So with the opportunity with Miss Houston, I thought, wow, you know, this is going to expand me in ways that I don't think I have been challenged before. From the, you know, aesthetic wise to the speaking wise to the interacting wise to really just being vulnerable about who I am. And more than anything, I wanted to use this platform to encourage personal development. Again, it's one of those things that nobody sees, you know, the work, the dedication, the mindset that it takes to reach goals. And I think in the world that we live in, specifically in my generation, everything is like right now, Instagram. Like if you're not a millionaire by 30, people are literally going into depression.
Yeah.
And I think I want to be that person that kind of shows that, you know, it takes time.
Okay.
It takes time.
Indeed. Sometimes you gotta let time take its time, because patience is still a virtue, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, of course, a lot of that also, and especially when it comes to character, is not something that just drops off on you. Some of those are learned behaviors. So there had to be, I guess, maybe other teachers or other community influences in you. Some of those names that actually, to you, mean something or meant something while you were growing up. Who were they, or who would they be?
You know, I would have to say that term or that saying that it takes a village to raise a child. I was so blessed to have that. I mean, just having both my parents in the home, having pastors, having uncles, having aunties, having teachers. I mean, at every point in my life, it was always a pivotal person encouraging me and motivating me. And that's why I want to use this. I want to be that for people, because I've had that every step of the way. You know, whether it was, I remember being in college and I got a job at a furniture store. I didn't think anything of it, but my manager at the time, I mean, he just seen so much potential in me. Fast forward, I am the top salesperson in the company at 19 years old. And I couldn't believe it. And it was just somebody, you know, telling me, hey, you're good. You're good with people. You're happy. You know, same thing when I was in college, me finding my way in public health. I had a professor, Dr. Tanago. You know, she always told me, you know, you write very well. You're very passionate. And I was trying to get my internship at the time, and I was worried. You know, everybody else were getting these internships. The one I was going for was with the city, which as hence my career now in the city. And it took a little bit longer, so I would come into class like, oh, I haven't gotten. She's like, Lisa, relax, you know, it's going to work out, and just motivating me along the way. So it's been so many pivotal people in my life that has just given me that push or given me that encouragement. And even when I fall, still say, you know what, it's okay.
All right. But one of the things also that a lot of times happens is that the schools and the teachers, so I like to always give them that special shout out. And I like to ask the schools that you went to. You don't necessarily need to remember the teachers, but at least the schools that you went to. So let's start from elementary school. What was your school?
I went to a Catholic school, St. Barnabas.
Okay.
So I did Catholic school from kindergarten to 8th grade.
Okay.
Then from 8th grade to 12th grade, I went to a charter school, World Communications Charter School. And then for my undergraduate degree, I went to Westchester University, which me and the president's wife, Jill Biden, she went there as well. So it's a nice, small college, but very impactful. And my bachelor's degree is in public health.
Okay. Nice. If you had to give advice to someone who's probably coming up in the same path that you are right now, what would you say to them?
Be growth-minded. It's everything. Be, you know, pride yourself in being a student. And my friends and family joke because I'm still always trying to get student discounts. I tell them I'm a lifelong student. But you know, especially if you're young, I mean, you know, I feel like a lot of kids, we all went through, you think you know everything, you think the world is chasing you. I'm 27. I feel like I haven't even lived. Like, I feel like my life has not even began. So listen to the wise counsel, seek it. I think if anything, that's what saved me. Those, you know, a praying grandmom and the family and just understanding, you know, that wisdom is something, it's not about age, but seek wisdom, seek to know things.
There you go. Wise words from a young woman. All right, but let's go into our first quick break and take a look at some of the images that showcase some of the things that we are talking about. So we'll be back. And for those of you that just tuned in today, you are checking out Diaspora Central, and our guest is Miss Lisa.
Especially being African, growing up in Philadelphia and stuff like that, you do understand the gap of understanding between Africans and African Americans. Yeah. So as someone who would get this type of title, what are some things that you think that you would like to educate on both parties when it comes to bridging that cultural gap?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It's so funny. It's so funny you asked me that question because my personal friend group, I have friends that are, from the ground. I have friends that are from Memphis, and I love them equally. And I think what that conversation would look like would be humility on both sides, because it can be a very taboo conversation. It can be a very uncomfortable conversation, and this is a conversation I have had to have with my own parents. We cannot generalize a group of people. That's the issue. We're going to have to get these people in the room and have the uncomfortable conversations we have behind closed doors so that we can address that, because that is what it is. And I've had to speak to people in my life and say, listen, even being in the African culture, you are not African enough for some Africans. You are not American enough for some Americans. So I think it will really be about highlighting the strengths from each culture and seeing and educating each other. So we must still keep our roots, but we also must bring a conversation and let our friends and who are from different races, not even just African American, but whatever race they are, let them know that we welcome them. Give them our food to try. Give them our history. Let them know. So many people don't even realize the reason I'm even, and I joke with some of my friends a lot, and I tell them, the reason I'm sitting here before you in this pretty dress and smiling and not skidding rocks on the side of a road is because someone gave my family an opportunity to come here. They don't know that, our countries went through war and a lot of us came here in refugees and all of these things. They have no idea of the things that we went through. So sometimes just giving people a little bit of that grace if they don't necessarily understand your culture, or if you don't necessarily understand their culture, because you may be the first African person that they ever interacted with. They may be the first African American person that your family has ever met. But if you make that relationship good, they will change that idea of, oh, African people are like this, or African American people are like this. They will say, oh no, I have a friend. She helped me. She told me, oh, I ate the food, and that's how we'll be able to come together.
And we are back. If you have just joined us, you're now tuned into Diaspora Central with Gil Ingles, and our guest today is Lisa Kunney, the young lady who's currently a candidate for Miss Houston. She is by profession a epidemiologist. Long word. Dripping word. But of course, now she is in Houston and she believes that she can represent Miss Houston. All right. Let's kind of talk a little bit about how did you even get to Houston? What brings you to Houston?
Well, that's a nice question to ask. I actually I'm always going to look for things,
okay,
as you'll find to know. So my birthdays are pretty much a national holiday.
Okay.
Self-proclaimed.
There you go.
So I have a tradition on my birthday. I've been doing this for the last couple of years where I always have to take a vacation.
Okay. What month is your birthday in?
It's in January.
January.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
It's
okay.
January 11th. So it was my birthday coming up, and as it being a major holiday, I had to start thinking early. So I looked at places I wanted to go to, and Houston came about. Came to Houston, touchdown, absolutely fell in love with the city, with the weather, with the people. It almost took me aback because I was not used to seeing so much diversity. And that was really, everything else, the food, all of that, amazing. But when I went down Alameda Road and I seen the turkey leg hut and the businesses, and I'm like, wow, this is a thing.
Gotcha.
And then I go to the River Oaks and I see you know, people who look like me, you know, and phantoms. I'm like, wait, like they're not rappers. They're everyday people from all different kind of places. So, well, this looks like the place I need to be in.
So potential.
I saw potential.
Yeah.
And, you know, I said, this place is a city that is developing. And I think I'd never been in a city when it was like on the rise. So when I seen Houston, I said, this place is on the rise. I want to be there.
There you go.
And that's what inspired.
And so right there, you made the commitment to come down.
Right.
So did you even go back after your birthday?
I went back home and I told my family, you know, I said, because the funny thing is at the time I was between Houston and LA.
Okay.
So I was between Houston and California.
Gotcha.
And I sat down and I'm like, you know, I've graduated at this point. I've fulfilled the family, you know, destiny.
Requirement. Yeah, requirement.
I've done my part.
Yeah, that's a requirement for every diaspora child, first or second generation, because you got to remember the opportunity of education. It's not something that in Africa many of us get. I mean, today is different, but I'm sure that during your parents' growing up, it was not that easy to get that opportunity. Definitely. So they didn't want you to waste that opportunity. Definitely. But go on with your story, though. So,
and we appreciate them for that.
You fulfill your requirement.
And I said, you know, I want something big, like, you know, I want to move. So I went to the boss, Daddy. Said, Daddy. He said, Lisa. I said, Daddy, I want to move. I want to move to California. Instant resistance. Yeah. Oh, California's crazy. I said, okay. Houston. He said, okay, we have a couple family members out there. Okay. My sister's best friend from college lived here, so that support would be there. So, you know, I told him, and my family actually, you know, did it the right way. I'm very, very traditional. We had a send-off party.
Oh, wow.
Pastor prayed for me. The elders in the family came, gave me good wishes. And I think that meant so much to me. And I feel like it is one of the reasons I've been doing so well, because, you know, I get it. For my, you know, young people, I know we want to do things, but that blessing, to know that you leave things in the right way is so important. Indeed. And I had a sending away party. I left, you know. Of course, your parents, they don't want you to go, but include them because they are wise. They have a lot of knowledge. And, you know, looking in hindsight, the California probably wouldn't have been the best bet for me.
Right.
So, you know, that was it. I came down officially July 2020 and started getting acclimated, you know, working in the city.
Now, question for you. Were you already at the time employed here in Houston, or did you transfer from another position in New York? How did that process go?
So I actually started working here at the health department.
Got you.
The City of Houston Health Department in July. And then the pandemic happened. So then I had to start working on a response project. Okay. So I came here and started working in the health department.
Got you.
So.
All right. So you basically fall right in line. Good timing. Yes. In other words, right?
Yes.
And sometimes that's what those prayers will do, right? Yeah, it'll set good timing and good vibes, positive energy. Now, things that you miss about the East Coast, that you man. Aside from your parents.
Yes, I do miss them.
Yeah.
But I miss the food. You know, Philadelphia is known for their cheesesteaks, so that was one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I miss the closeness of everything because in Philadelphia you can be like in any part of the city within like 30 minutes, 15 minutes. Yeah. You got the subway, you can hop on a train, you want to go downtown. You know, it's easy. So I miss that. I also miss, you know, friends and, you know, different restaurants that were my favorite. But, you know, I can always go back to my favorite places.
Yeah.
But those are probably the most things I miss, though. Just like the food is very good.
Yeah.
Very good food. Very good food. And Philadelphia, it has a very, it's the city of brotherly love. So
Right.
it's very historical. You can find a lot of antique places. I mean, the Liberty Bell, the Federal Mint Reserve, Penn's Landing. I mean, it's literally still brick roads in Old City.
Right.
So
right.
it's a very place full of culture.
Indeed.
So I miss that as well.
And the architecture also is definitely still that very old architecture, which is good and interesting, right? But one of the things that I guess made you mentioned the diversity of Houston, and one of the things that you probably found to be the toughest thing to adapt to, that you may be still probably struggling with or dealing with as far as adapting to Houston. What was it, or what would that be?
I think one of the things I found difficult was the directions.
Mm-hmm.
The driving was a struggle for me.
Yeah.
Houston is huge.
Right.
So maneuvering, even to this day, I think finding my way, it's more like I think that's just going to come with time.
Right.
But I think getting on those highways and everything, it's like, whoa.
Right, yeah, because when you come from the city environment and you get into Houston, is almost like a metropolitan area, right? It's almost like having 2 or 3 cities together. Yes. I mean, a lot of times I kind of compare Houston to Washington D.C. as inclusive to Baltimore and Alexandria, Virginia. It's almost like having those 3 cities together that would make that. But I'm glad that you're managing it. Now, we're gonna talk. We're gonna take another quick break, and when we come back, I kind of want to talk a little bit about the pandemic and being in the front lines, actually, from a personal perspective, of course, because you today not here on a professional capacity, but on a personal basis. I kind of want to hear some of those good things from you.
Alrighty, sounds good.
All right, so let's take another break and take a look at some more images. And with us, we have Lisa Kunney, one of the prospects or contestants for Miss Houston. We'll be right back.
But one thing I will say I have done since I've been in Houston is I have supported businesses, I have supported people, I have volunteered, I have showed up all the time. At the health department, we were just taking it one day at a time. But I showed up every day. It was my smile. It was my energy. I did my part. I really did try to be a better impact for the citizens of Houston to make sure that their health was in order. That was the first thing. And outside of that, although I just came here, I'm purchasing real estate here. So I plan to make this a long-term thing and to better the economy as a whole.
What will you do now if you know you're going to win the pageant? What will you do now before being crowned?
Continue to use the platform that I have to promote the city. Continue to invest in the city. Continue to tell people that this place, the cost of living is where you want to be. Continue to promote healthcare, oil and gas, the consumer market. Continue to let people know because it is a place you want to be. Right. Houston right now is making a lot of money in every single sector. You don't see that. So regardless if I win Miss Houston or not, I'm going to spread the good news and let people know if you have an idea, if you're ambitious, if you want to work, you want to be in Houston because it can change your life and you can maximize your potential. So that's what I plan to do. And if I was to win the title of Houston, I would really want to I would really want to be a person and a resource to connect all of these new people.
And we are back. If you have just joined us, you're now tuned to Diaspora Central with Gil Ingles, and our guest today is Lisa Kunney, a prospect or a contestant for the Miss Houston beauty pageant and an epidemiologist that has actually been in the front lines during the pandemic. Lisa.
Yes.
The entire world saw some serious, I believe probably some of the worst times that we could ever seen when it came to anything as contagious as we have ever seen. This disease has been crazy, right? From your perspective, you mentioned that you're 27 years old. I am older than you, and I've never seen something as bad as this. And I'm sure that you probably have not either. So from a personal perspective, when this thing starts to happen, what is Lisa, who is part of the health department, thinking from a personal note? Just
the pandemic, it was very interesting to watch because we watched it slow. When I first heard about it, I heard about the cases overseas. And, you know, when things like this start to happen, it's a whole protocol and procedure. So when I heard about it, you know, having went through and studied other big viruses, Ebola, Zika, and seeing how those things played out, they get big. But usually there are teams, there are protocols in place that almost nip it before it gets here. My biggest shock was when we started getting cases in the United States is when I started saying, okay, this is going to be different. You know, this is going to be different. And, you know, we had to go through extensive trainings, and you're looking at different strands. So every day, every hour, new cases are coming. New strands are coming. So it was to the point where we couldn't, you know, it takes over 10 years to study a virus and see the outcomes and the side effects and, you know, what's causing it. We didn't have 10 years. It was spreading faster than the doctors, than the epidemiologists, than the public health professionals could catch it. So we are literally every day was a guessing game in the sense of we didn't know what it would go to. So it really was beneficial actually, because I never thought that, you know, infectious disease and, you know, emergency response would be something I would be practicing so early. But it definitely taught me so much. I mean, the biggest thing was just the teamwork, the collaboration, the sense of urgency, and the empathy. And I think that's what was important, because when you say public health, the first word is public. So that sense of empathy and compassion is what the people were depending on us for, because the health aspect of it was developing. So it was really a challenge of being able to explain what the symptoms are, where to go get tested, how you can get vaccinated, being patient with people, understanding that people's families and lives were being affected. And although it was so much going on our end, maintaining that sense of compassion and understanding for the public, because imagine we were figuring it out and the public felt like they didn't know if they're not even exposed to this world. So that was the biggest balance I would say I seen throughout the course of the pandemic.
Now, of course, as this thing is unfolding, you, who is a trained professional, are actually in Houston. And of course, we all looking at all these news about New York City, the impact that is taken in New York, and your family, your parents are still in New York. How is Lisa dealing with that during that time?
You know, for me, I'm a person of faith. I'm a person of positive outcomes. So, you know, honestly, throughout that time, staying in communication, making sure that, my parents are taking the necessary protocol, checking in, laughing, and making sure they smile. And I don't live my life in fear. I am a person that I realize, what can we do? So it was always a solution-based conversation with us.
Okay.
And of course, taking all the protocols and everything that we know, but ultimately understanding that nothing lasts. We are working through it.
Right.
And just keeping that positive outlook was the thing that kept me mellow, kept me confident that everything was going to work out.
Yeah. Now, and your mom also was probably in the front lines because she is a nurse.
Yes.
Correct. And what does your dad do professionally?
He is a social worker.
Okay, so your father is a social worker. So not so bad on his side, but you and your mom, you both in the front lines on a daily, pretty much. From a professional perspective, and as someone who, of course, always thinks about the future, as you said, always thinks about growth. From a professional perspective, what is Lisa now starting to think as far as your career, even as an epidemiologist? Of course, you have a bachelor's. Currently, it's probably going for a master's and a PhD, something that you're starting to entertain. Have you already started to entertain?
Oh, definitely. I definitely started looking at furthering my education.
Okay.
I'm also really looking at putting out more knowledge on wellness and health. Pursuing something in the world of coaching where I can directly impact one-to-one.
Gotcha.
And really help people with just that full body health and wellness, maintenance.
Yeah. So in other words, what you're saying is, and I'm pitching Diaspora Central here now. So basically, what you're saying is that if given the opportunity and probably the platform for you to be able to share that kind of knowledge with the community, you are willing to do so.
Yes.
Okay. So then it would be okay if I publicly made the proposal that we work something for Diaspora Central for you to actually have either a segment or a program, maybe on a monthly basis, that would address some of those things for our community. Is that something that you would look forward into doing?
I would absolutely love that.
Yeah, and we appreciate it, so consider it done, and we'll be done right in this studio. I believe the one thing is going to be probably you're going to be on this chair and someone else on the other side, and we consider it done. Can it be done?
It can be done.
We start thinking about the name now, so for those of you who probably thought that you're going to invite her to your platforms, it's done. She's now part of Diaspora Central. Contract is being sealed, is verbally done, publicly done. But let's get into something actually more serious than that, which is this contest.
Yes.
Yeah. Of course, you have a platform for the contest. You have ideas of things that you want to do. You gave us an understanding of what kind of made you go for it. And one of the questions that I guess I have is, being your first beauty pageant, why now?
I believe that every woman should have a rite of passage. And I believe that because we've done away with rites of passage, this is why we are in the condition that we're in with the youth.
Okay.
Going through a beauty pageant, and it looks different for women and men, but in my opinion.
Your opinion, of course.
Some of us were fortunate and blessed to grow up with grandmoms and aunties and, women to communicate to you as you grow up, things you should do as a woman, and so on and so forth.
Right.
But what I believe has happened over time with the integration of us migrating here to America, that the refinement, that needs to happen in both young men and young women, it's diminishing. Right. So for me, when I thought about the beauty pageant, I said, what better way to see if all these lessons I've learned throughout my life, if all these things I've learned, I can not only be, embody, I can exude.
Right.
And that is what really made me want to go through with this, is that other people, they are exposed to this life at a very young age. But I believe with the knowledge that I have had from my family, ancestors, support system, that I can be just, if not more qualified to win the crown and to use my platform. But I think what the pageant does, it's that refinement. It's that you are now a woman. You are now able to stand into a room and conduct yourself. I really fight for that.
The process.
The process.
Yeah.
And I encourage that. I encourage women my age to find a mentor. I encourage young men, like, speak to people, because what ends up happening, it's never that defining moment and it doesn't have to be a beauty pageant, whatever it used to be, but going out into the woods or just life, like just that moment where you move from, boy to man or girl to woman.
Yeah, from boyhood to manhood.
It's kind of hard to decide that.
Yeah.
But when you're doing things like even me being here and I have to speak to you and I have to make sure I'm conveying emotion and these things, nobody's showing that to the youth.
Yeah.
So then we grow up and we're confused.
Right. So in other words, really mentorship, right? And power of representation, right?
Yes.
The need of representation are probably part of the thing. But of course, you have also a platform of what you expect to do for Houstonians, because you know that too many of them that is going to be one of the questions that they're going to ask.
Yes.
You're brand new in this city, so first, what have you done for us to be worthy of our vote?
Yes.
What would your answer be for a question such as that?
Definitely. And I'm so grateful to be in a city like this. So I came here and I hit the ground running. I participated in multiple community service events, toy drives, food banks, joining things like SAID Institute and supporting their gala, going to the Veterans Day parade and helping out at a booth, picking up trash that I see when I'm walking on a small scale of things, patronizing multiple businesses on a regular basis, bringing people from Philly here and spreading the word of how wonderful the city is. It's a running joke that since I've been here, I've had family visit every month. Every single month.
Okay.
I encourage people to come here. I tell them how amazing the place is.
So you have basically become an ambassador for the city.
I have become an ambassador for the city.
Okay.
I also had the opportunity to, plan the Energy Investment Forum for U.S. Africa and be a part of that. That was downtown at the C. Baldwin Hotel. So just staying involved and staying active is definitely something that I have been doing since I've been out here in Houston.
Right. And professionally also, you have been in the front lines, right? You were the individual dealing with the public on a one-on-one basis and sometimes in a group, I guess in group sessions, in order to educate Houstonians on the pandemic and the processes to kind of go through whatever we needed to go through in order to beat this disease,
pandemic,
right? Yeah. So let's go ahead and take another break and take a look at some more images of some of the good things that Lisa does do, not only for Houston, but definitely for the diaspora community.
Do you think financial literacy is a necessity?
Financial literacy is absolutely everything. Being first generation, one thing that is a foundation of mine, and I think that we as a culture and as a people in general, mentorship. And the thing about it is that I'm going to be 100% honest. Financial literacy, financial education, it is not fun. It is not glamorous. It is not something that you can make a TikTok dance about, but the value of it is something that will change your life. And I think what we need is the young people who are entrepreneurs, who are building things, who have made this money, is to sit us down in a forum like this and explain explain the importance of it for us to buy property, for us to invest in stocks, for us to speak to our African parents. And I had to have that conversation with my parents and say, listen, I've went to school, I have my bachelor's, but we need to own property. We need to own real estate. We need to be able to sit down and bridge that gap in between the generation so that we can set ourselves up for the future. Because a lot of the time what happens is the discussion of financial literacy never comes up. Your parents go, God forbid, now they never taught you what a life insurance policy is. They never taught you how to buy a house, what an interest rate is. They haven't done any of that. I'll give you an example. During this last pandemic, my parents were discussing buying an investment property in Philadelphia. I looked at the market, the interest rates, it wasn't making sense. It was in that crisis where I was able to assist my parents find a 3.125 interest rate on a property here in Houston because we collaborated on that. And that's what we need, is to bridge that gap and take the wisdom of our parents from our culture and bring the knowledge that we've learned in school so that we can be financially free.
And we are back. If you have just joined us, you're now tuned to Diaspora Central with Gil Ingles and my guest today, my Lisa Kunney. I like that. But my guest today is Lisa Kunney, of course, a contestant for Miss Houston beauty pageant and an epidemiologist that is actually giving us a chance to kind of understand from the perspective of being a frontline individual during the pandemic what life was like, especially when she had her own family in a different state and her mother also serving the front lines of New York City. She was serving the front lines in Houston. Now, she believes that she has what it takes, and I too do believe that you do have what it takes for you to be Miss Houston. So we're going to definitely do our best to vote for you, promote you, but let's now understand the process of voting and the process of this pageant. How can the community assist you, help you, or how will things work?
Thank you again for having me here on your platform. It's been such a pleasure. And if anyone wants to support me, the best way you can support me is by voting for me for the People's Choice Award. This is going to be so important, not only because I will automatically advance to the semifinals. All proceeds from this vote will be going to help mental health and giving people resources that are going through such a tough time in their life. You can go and vote for me on the Miss Houston pageant.com. Under the contestant section, search Lisa Kunney. Go ahead, and there's no limit to the amount of times you can vote. Just whatever your heart is warranted to do. Also, the actual pageant will be here in Houston at the Post Oak Hotel. It'll be April 15th. You are more than welcome then to come and support me as well. Also, if you want to repost anything on my Instagram, just to give me that moral encouragement, my Instagram is _LTK. And just your prayers, your thoughts, and your love, that also means just as much to me as well.
All right. Now, you did give us the of course, your name, but I kind of want you to actually spell your last name so that people know how to spell it, because they may be looking for Lisa. Now they need spelling of your last name, Lisa. So actually, you may want to spell both of them so that they know how to spell. Go on.
So you would go and search Lisa, LISAKUNNEY. You should see me right under the contestant section on the Miss Houston pageant.com.
All right. MissHoustonPageant.com. That's the place where you can go in and vote. And, of course, the candidate that you're trying to vote for is Lisa Kunney. We will definitely support you because, after all, we do believe that you have the qualifications necessary to wear that crown, not only for Houston, but in all honesty, even just being part of this has already made you a winner, because you have now become a representative of the diaspora in such category. And aside from that, you also are now representing for the much younger individuals who are also kind of being raised in the same situation, in the same conditions that you were raised in. Of course, having parents from a different country, being raised in America. And with that, let's go into one portion, which is very light. Yeah. But I kind of like to get into it because I find it to be fun. Every first generation or second generation American from the African diaspora is raised under two rules, right? From the door into the house is Africa. And once you out that door, you're in America.
Yes.
Did you have that same issue?
I did.
Mm-hmm.
I did. You know, growing up,
Mm-hmm.
I think my dad said I'm the one that made him lose his hair.
Okay.
Because I just was so curious as to why. Like, why do we always have to eat rice? Why can't I go here? You know, and funny enough, it was different.
Okay.
But in hindsight, I thank God for the parents I had. Okay. Everything they told me not to do was for my own benefit. Yeah. And I believe that they've even expressed to me that my zeal for life has even encouraged them to, now they go on vacation, travel internationally, different cultures, and expose. So I believe it's about not forgetting about the culture, but also leave room for the child gift to grow.
Right.
Whatever that may be.
Indeed.
Yes.
Now today, of course, as a grown up in Houston, you're looking at the beautiful colors and flowers that the world has, right? As you see younger girls, also probably children of other diasporans coming up, what would you advise them as you sometimes encounter probably some of them having certain difficulties? What kind of advice would you give them in regards to that identity crisis that may arise as they growing up? How would you assist them go through that?
I would let them know, you know, be confident in your heritage. I come across so many people who they don't know where they come from. And I don't know how it's gotten these days, but I know growing up, you know, your mom cooking you these soups and bringing them to school and we get all dressed up. It's such a blessing.
Right.
So many people, that's one of our needs as human beings. It's just that sense of belonging and accept it, appreciate it, but also know you and be yourself. But coming up, especially having that background of in the African diaspora, embrace those things that is your culture, whether that's the food, whether that's the clothes, whether it's the funny sayings. We all have them. And share it with people and put yourself in a place where you're so creative, you're so bright, you're so exuberant that the country you come from, people are just so enamored with you. They want to know. They want to know, why do you say it like that? Or they want to hear about your parents. And, you know, embrace all of who you are. And don't forget the American part, too, because I've come to see that the identity crisis comes where it's like either you're straight off the boat and everything is just, you know, like traditional, or you come into this new culture, Western culture, and you completely forget about where you come from. Always know who you are. So good sense and take the good values from what you earning. Because after all, I mean, this is home for most of us. This is where you live, and and of course sharing where we come from is definitely beneficial for those that we find here also, because then we can all understand each other a lot better. Yeah. Lisa Kunney, future Miss Houston. Future Miss Houston. Be on the lookout. Yeah. One of the great things that I like about you, because I always give accolades in this program, it was actually something that surprised me, and I will give you your accolade now.
you were actually on the phone with someone. And for someone born in the Bronx, of course, I'm sure that you probably have visited Liberia before.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And all of a sudden, you broke into Pidgin, or the native dialect for Liberia. Do they also call it Pidgin, or they have a different name for it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You broke into Pidgin. That was beautiful. Okay. And I say that was beautiful because that shows that although you were born and raised here, you did definitely understand who you were, who you are, and who you need to be. So that's my accolades for you.
I so much appreciate
Yeah.
that. It means so much. Thank you.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Best wishes on this pageant. We definitely hope that you do take the crown, and we will work with you to assist you in ensuring that you do get the crown. And even if you don't, which at this point we don't even want to think that way because we know you are going to get it. Just the fact that you have entered the pageant, we thank you for that, because with that alone, you have now created a path. You are now a trailblazer for this community. There are other individuals that will come. But of course, you do have a team working with you on this pageant, individuals that are actually assisting you go through the process. If the community wanted to, I guess, engage somewhat into the process to understand it maybe even better on how to assist you aside from voting, which you already told us how we can go and do that. What other things could they do? Is there a way of contacting you and seeing exactly what kind of services you may? I mean, seamstresses, I don't know, hair people, braiders, people, curators, people who are historians or cultural curators, people who understand painting and things. I don't know, other things that you're trying to include into your thing that they can probably contribute. Photographers, things. Give us some of those lists of things that people can probably do for you also, and things that you are available to do at this point in time, just to ensure that that crown, whether they hand you the one that they should be handing you or not, within the community, you are definitely earned already one from us.
Yes, most definitely. Anyone that is a photographer, tailor, speaking coach, just media, social media management, motivation, just anything, just email me. I'm available to, collaborate. Health and Wellness Clinic, my foundation for life, it's going to be up and running, and I'm definitely going to be, relying on the hands of the community, because it's time for us to be a fit, cultural, healthy community, and that is what I'm about. So if you are out there and you are someone who has worked with foundations and, we're brand new, this is what I'm doing. I am health, I am lifestyle. I would love to collaborate on any different thing. You can shoot me an email at LKUNNEY70@gmail.com. Just shoot me an email. I'm totally open to collaborate in whatever resources that you may have to the road to the crown. It is a long one, but we will make it to the end.
There you go. And just being part of that journey in itself, it's already a winning ticket. All right, the road to the crown, Miss Lisa Kunney. Thank you for stopping by.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Definitely, yeah. And for those of you that did join us, remember there were a couple of words that should be resonant post this program. They are representation, mentorship, and living life. The freedom to live life, the freedom to be yourself, and also the ability to capitalize on the wisdom of generations prior to ours. For all those of you that joined us, it's been a great pleasure. As always, I am Gil Ingles. My guest has been Lisa Kunney, someone who's actually running for Miss Houston. So until next time, thank you for joining us. Take care of yourselves and each other. Peace.